How you doing, guys? Daniel back with another video for you. Today we're going to be taking a look through the pages of Combat Patrol issue 3. Before we get started, don't forget that if you enjoy my content you can click on that subscribe button in order to help support the channel, and feel free to share this video with people you may think it's relevant to. Now, onto the magazine. Issue 3 comes with 5 Infernus Marines. Now, while you can't buy just 5 of these directly from Games Workshop, there are a number of ways you can get hold of some. The simplest way is to buy them in a box of 10 for £37. Once again, third-party retailers like Element Games will be cheaper, but for the purpose of these videos I always compare to the cost of the magazine to the price of the miniatures directly from the manufacturer. Oh, and this is the first time we're paying the full cover price of the magazine, which is £9.99. So if you wanted 10 Infernus Marines, you could buy 2 copies of the magazine and would be saving just under 50% versus going directly to Games Workshop. Opening the magazine, you'll find a how to build section, and at the time of recording this video I'm yet to build the squad, so I'm not sure how tricky they might be to build, but with at least 36 pieces on sprue, it may be our most daunting kit yet. A million worlds. In the picture featured on this page, we see a vast forge world that blazes with industry, every inch of which is dedicated to producing weapons of war. In the paragraphs that follow, we learn that the Imperium believes the galaxy belongs to it by right. Originally, this was heavy satire of the various colonial powers of the world, drawing from the impact the British Empire and others had on Earth. We still see it to this day with various imperialist powers trying to wield influence in areas of the world they have no right to, but have convinced themselves they do. I don't imagine Games Workshop will ever revert to their tendency to draw on real-world events for inspiration, but if they do, it probably won't be in the same tongue-in-cheek way they once did. Back to the mag. The Imperium is vast and ever-expanding. Its rulers greedy for power, territory and resources. For every world lost to the alien or heretic, another is brought into the fold and put to work. On the following page we're introduced to some of the types of worlds that are within the borders of the Imperium, and how they serve the massive empire of humanity. Hive worlds are home to countless trillions of Imperial subjects who toil endlessly in megacities that rise up into polluted clouds. Forge worlds are effectively planet-sized factories overseen by the Adeptus Mechanicus and produce anything from the simplest light bulb to the city-sized ships that crusade across the galaxy in the name of the Emperor. Agri-worlds are basically farm worlds providing food for the Imperial population on a scale hitherto unheard of. Shrine worlds are exactly what they sound like. Covered in tombs and temples, Imperial citizens travel to these worlds in their millions in order to pay their tithes. The next page covers Space Marines at war. The chapters of the Adeptus Astartes focus on using small elite forces of troops to shatter forces much larger by comparison. Before taking to the field of battle, they study their foe and consult the ancient Codex Astartes to ensure their strike makes the biggest possible impact. In theory, Space Marines are the most effective fighting force in the galaxy, adjusting their combat doctrine as the battle progresses. Typically, this starts with devastating long-range fire, employing snipers and heavy support to dismantle their enemy. When the opponent is on the verge of breaking, they close in with their combat blades to finish off the target. The 10th company of most Space Marine chapters is made up of the Vanguard squads, who specialise in guerrilla warfare, concealed until the perfect time to strike and fading away into the shadows before the enemy knows what's hit them. Space Marines have armoured support in the form of rapid hovering storm speeders and tracked vehicles such as heavily armoured land raiders and much more besides.
Companies.
On these pages we learn a little more about the structure of Space Marine chapters, specifically the companies they are split into. Fledgling Marines typically begin their service in the aforementioned 10th Company, learning the art of guerrilla warfare in a support role to one of the 4 main battle companies. They work their way through the various specialist companies learning other aspects of war, including the 9th Company, which is made up exclusively of fire support troops, wielding the chapter's heaviest ranged weapons. The 1st Company is reserved for the chapter's most proven and skilled warriors. Normally it takes decades, if not centuries, of service to achieve ascendancy to those lofty heights. These veterans of war will often take to the field of battle in ultra-elite squads designed to aid battle companies with their often uncountable years of experience. Deep Strike. This is a lovely bit of fiction in the form of a short story. It takes us from the arming chambers to the agri-world of Loom 6, where Sergeant Lanius and his squad are tasked with removing an enemy leader from the field of battle. I love this kind of story when I was getting into the hobby. They give you a real flavour of the 40k universe, this one touching briefly on the difference between a regular human and a Space Marine, and what it is to be a 1st Company veteran in service of the Emperor. The next page takes us back to the models that come with this issue, our new Infernus Marines. In the Collect section we get some ideas for naming more of our models, including a guide to using the provided name tables, in case you weren't sure from the previous issues. On the reverse we get all the information we need to field our Infernus Marines in a game of 40k in the form of a combat patrol datasheet. It's important to note that if you want to play some larger games, some of the datasheets throughout the run of this magazine will differ slightly, including more rules to maximise either efficiency of the unit or immersion into the universe. Space Marine squads are typically named after their sergeant, and the unit naming table gives you 36 name suggestions which are particularly suited to Ultramarines in my opinion. This table won't be much use for me as I'll be painting my own Astartes as Imperial Fists, who don't share typical Roman style names that the Sons of Guilliman have. If you want to name your squads in a more sympathetic way to other chapters, you may want to have a quick internet search for what real Earth culture the chapter of choice draws inspiration from. In the case of the Imperial Fists, if you sift through lots of opinion and folks offering their 2 pennies worth, you'll find they draw a lot of influence from Germanic states of Europe. So you may want to name your squads accordingly. The unit epithet table, on the other hand, could potentially be used by most, if not all, Space Marine chapters. These are earned through particularly heroic deeds and battlefield achievements. You may even consider picking your own epithets once you've used the units in a few games and see if you can come up with a name of your own based on their performance.
Cleanse, purge, kill.
In this week's scenario, a lone Infernus Marine is dispatched to rescue his commander, who appears to be lost behind enemy lines because they're a silly goose. This week's mission involves learning about battlefield positioning and how staying mobile can be key to victory. Over the page we have our first encounter with shooting attacks. These ranged attacks work much in the same way as melee attacks, but with a few key differences. We also learn some weapon special rules, in this case Torrent, which basically just means you don't need to roll a to hit roll for this weapon. The to wound table is something else new to us and gives us the lowdown on how to figure out if our new ranged weapons wound a target after each successful hit roll. Mission 3, Cleanse, Purge, Kill, is essentially a solo mission where a player with a single Infernus Marine works their way across the board to clear 4 infestations represented by the cardstock terrain that comes with this issue. Each infestation site has its own set of characteristics, just enough information to know how to kill it, with a toughness and wound value as well as an armour save which indicates the minimum number on a 6-sided die you'll need to roll for it to successfully fend off any attacks. Over the course of the battle we'll learn more about movement, including what constitutes a normal move, a run move, and for those in need of a rest, the ability to remain stationary. The following page takes us through how torrent weapons work, getting a number of automatic hits equal to the dice roll as indicated in the weapon's profile. In the case of the Pyre Blasters, you roll a 6-sided die and the result is the number of hits you get. In order to work out how many of these hits cause wounds, you can now refer to the aforementioned to wound table. And then your opponent, or in this case the infestation sites, get to roll the saving throws as indicated in their profile. At the bottom of the page I was surprised to learn that the infestation sites get to hit back, albeit in a rather ineffectual form of a strength 2 attack. unlikely to cause the Marine any harm, but it's not completely unheard of. The final internal pages give us more of the narrative journey depending on the outcome of the mission. I think this is vital for some players to get invested into these games and can leave them eager to learn more in the next issue of the mag. We also get the classic picture of what we'll receive if we collect all the issues of the magazine, and 36 more wound markers. If we get this number every week, I'm pretty sure we're just going to have to keep buying more models in order to use them all. Onto the rear cover of the magazine and what we can expect in next week's issue. It's 3 paints and a starter paintbrush. While some experienced hobbyists may turn their nose up at these issues for being low in value, it's good to remember that the magazine is designed to bring newer blood into the hobby, and as such, these players are unlikely to have many, if any, paints or brushes of their own. In issue 5, we're getting that now expected magazine exclusive model in the form of a very cool looking Infernus Sergeant, complete with a burning Tyranid bit underfoot. That's all I've got for you this week. Don't forget to tune in next time for a look between the covers of issue 4. Until then, I'll see you on the battlefield.